Hello everyone and welcome to the F1 Corner. Here we are after the qualifying session of the 2020 Italian Grand Prix, ready to take a look back at the highlights. Pole position was taken by Lewis Hamilton, second Valtteri Bottas, and an amazing lap by Carlos Sainz, see the McLaren taking third place for tomorrow's race. But we'll get to that in a few moments. First, let's start with Q1 as usual. And before that, obviously, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So, into Q1. Already, we almost saw a repeat of last year. If you remember, at the end of Q3 last year, all the cars bunching up together, trying to get tow from the car in front. Because in Monza, it is super important to get some slipstream from a car in front. You can gain as much as half a second just by getting some tow from the car in front. So everyone wants it, and you can get it from as far as 3 to 4 seconds behind the other car. And what happens is that everyone wants to get this slipstream. Everyone starts going out at the same time together, and it ends up with being pretty much of a mess, which it was at the end of Q1. So, we're out in Q1, Romain Grosjean, Sebastian Vettel, Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. So, at the end of the session, everyone who's in danger going out all at once, they arrive at the first corner. Already they are fighting in the Parabolica to try to get the best position possible. But starting their lap, getting to the first corner, first chicane, and it's almost as if it was race day. People going side by side and almost fighting with each other to try and overlap and get a better position to not lose time. So everyone losing a lot of time just at that first chicane. We could see Kimi Raikkonen, who was side by side with Esteban Ocon. His first sector was close to 3 seconds slower than what it should have been. Already he was in trouble. Luckily for Kimi, he did pass to Q2, but others were not so lucky. So Romain Grosjean made a mistake at the end of his lap, and that's pretty much his fault for not getting it into Q2. He missed it by 3/100th of a second, which is really not a lot. You can see that Alex Albon was one of those that suffered. He barely made it to Q2. Sebastian Vettel was caught up in that pack of people fighting for position, fighting to be at the right place at the right time during that lap, and unfortunately got busted out at the end of Q1, not able to put on a good lap, good enough. Missing it also by less than half a tenth of a second, which is such a tiny fraction of a lap. It's like you could probably measure it with a measuring tape. But yeah, first Ferrari out in Q1. Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell, Nicholas Latifi, tough luck for them. Giovinazzi just same thing pretty much, got caught up in the traffic. But the two Williams just could never really find the pace since the beginning of the weekend. It seems like the ban of party mode this week is hampering them. They lost quite a bit. The car is quite draggy. They're not even close to making it to Q2 this weekend. George Russell 19, Latifi 20. Sad for Williams because it is the last weekend with the Frank and Claire Williams at the head of the team. Trying to pay a little tribute to the Williams team with my Williams merchandise in display. So that's it for Q1. Grosjean 16, Vettel 17, Giovinazzi 18, George Russell 19, and Latifi 20. Now let's go on to Q2. Q2 was a lot smoother. It seems like some people learned from their mistake in Q1. So we're out in Q2. Daniel Kvyat, Esteban Ocon, Charles Leclerc, Kimi Raikkonen, and Kevin Magnussen. Let's start with Charles Leclerc. Ferrari struggling, obviously, we knew it was going to be tough. And what we're seeing here is the real pace of the Ferrari after everything that's happened. They are not better than 13th on the grid. This is the first time since 1984 that none of the Ferrari's car make it into the top 10 in qualification at Monza. This is huge. What can they do tomorrow during the race? Probably not much. Even if everyone does not have party mode anymore, I think their engine is already giving the best that they can, and it's gonna be a very long day for the prancing horse. Daniel Kvyat, tough luck for him, just not good enough. His teammate Pierre Gasly did make it to Q3. Kvyat still struggling a little bit. He's the one that's been on the back foot at AlphaTauri since the beginning of the season. Not a bad result, obviously, but still, he can do better than that. So he will start 11. Esteban Ocon, also unlucky. He was supposed to get some tow from his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo made a mistake and just decided to go to the side of the track, saying, no, I'm not giving this guy a slipstream, since he was already Ricciardo. In a tough spot, you can see he passed in 9th place, but barely by a few tenths of a second. Kimi Räikkönen, Kevin Magnussen, we're not expecting much more from them. They have the Ferrari power unit, and that's probably the most we can expect from them, even for the whole weekend. But it's a long race, so we'll see. Still, no surprise for 14 and 15. Ferrari struggling. So, Daniel Kvyat starting 11, Ocon 12, Charles Leclerc 13, Kimi Räikkönen 14, and Kevin Magnussen in 15th. And now, on to Q3. Let's start at the bottom. Here again, all the drivers trying to get tow from one another. All going out at the same time, and basically the guy in front was the one with the biggest disadvantage, but maybe because they did not care much, both Mercedes, the Mercedes car, who you can see in 1 and 2, were the first to go out. I guess they just did not care because their car is just so powerful. So they were out first and everyone else just followed behind. Pierre Gasly, 10th. With his teammate 11. It's not a bad result for Gasly. Obviously, we think that Daniel could have made it to Q3, but they will be satisfied. Pierre will be satisfied with that. And you can see by the best lap time right here that it's only a tiny margin from 10 to potentially 8. 1.5 tenths of a second. 9, Alex Albon, struggling again this weekend in quali. It's really tough luck for him. Still, he's not far from his teammate. When you look at it, it's 0.3 of a second, which is starting to be in the respectable range for the Red Bull driver. We used to see 5, 6, 7 tenths of a second in the previous race. That was only 3 tenths, so it's probably just a bit of bad luck for Albon. A respectable lap, sadly, only starting 9th. Lance Stroll also struggling. Had the lap time deleted also at the beginning of Q3 for going outside the track, which is something that the drivers will have to be careful. At Parabolica, the track limits are very clear, but also very easy to go over, and the stewards will be very careful of that, because what happens at the Parabolica, if you go over the track limits, well, you could actually gain some time. It's not like you're losing time, but because you're taking more track and going faster at the exit of that corner, you actually gain an advantage really by going too wide, which is weird, but that's how it works at Monza. So Stroll 8, also only 0.3 of a second behind his teammate Sergio Perez, so not too bad. Ricciardo 7th, we thought the Renault could have a bit more pace here. During practice they were really strong, and they were also strong last week in Spa. But this was quali, and obviously since there's no party mode, no multi-engine mode, Maybe the car is trimmed a bit more for the race pace, so maybe the engine mode that they're using right now, actually they will be using the same tomorrow in the race, but knowing that they will have to race and use that same engine mode, maybe the car is trimmed a bit more for the race. We'll see tomorrow. Lando Norris, sixth, also a good lap, only less than 2/10 of a second. Here, that's where it's bunched up and it's cool. If you see Sainz, Perez, Verstappen, Norris, all within 2/10 of a second of each other, it was anybody's guess at that point. So cannot be disappointed with the sixth place. It's a good result for the McLaren driver. He could have been third as well as seventh at this point. It's only, again, a bit of bad luck probably. Verstappen will be disappointed to start fifth. This is one of the rare times this season, if not the first time, where there's no Red Bull on the second row of the grid. You will have to make up for it, and we don't know if they have the car for it. It seems like the banning of multi-engine mode is starting to hurt the Red Bulls. Will it be the same for the race? We will see tomorrow. But fifth, Verstappen, 9, Albon. Probably their worst quali in a while. And yeah, they will have some work to do tomorrow. Sergio Perez, fourth. Great lap. Came this close from being third on the grid, but cannot complain about anything here. Mercedes power unit. Mercedes 2019 copycat car. Second row on the grid, will fight up for a podium most likely tomorrow, depending on how the Red Bulls fares. But they have a car to fight for a podium at Monza, that's for sure. So Sergio Perez is the guy to watch tomorrow, I believe. Carlos Sainz, third, very happy. He said after his lap he was still a bit shaky because he gave it everything he had. Very happy, obviously, to get this position. Does not believe that they have what it takes in the race to stay in third. They will obviously fight for it, but think that they will fall back a little bit tomorrow. But very, very satisfied with his lap. And now our top two, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas. As you can see, less than 1/10 of a second between the two drivers. It was, again, anybody's guess at the end of that lap, but still, look at the pace difference between Bottas and Carlos Sainz. We are talking over half a second of difference, and that's in quali where they are giving it their all, and with an engine that's going to be the same for tomorrow. So if the Mercedes can just keep pushing, because suddenly that they're not using this super boost party mode, they gain like 25 lap of lifetime for their engine. Mercedes is just gonna raffle everything again tomorrow. I think if the goal was to slow down Mercedes, it won't be working at all. So tomorrow, Mercedes probably in a league of their own, but behind them, Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, even Daniel Ricciardo, and Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, all those guys are in the contention for sure for third place on the podium. And it's going to be one hell of a start, one hell of a race, I expect. First few laps are going to be crazy. Can Max Verstappen gain some ground and go back in third place where he has been for most of the season? Can Sergio Perez cause a surprise and maybe finish third? Can Carlos Sainz fight and keep third? Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, can they make up some ground at the start and maybe gain a few positions and just go mingle with those guys? Who knows? It's gonna be one crazy start and one crazier race tomorrow, I expect. And that's it today for qualification. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, what can I improve, and I will see you again tomorrow after the race of this 2020 Italian Grand Prix at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Thank you for watching, everyone, and enjoy the race.